All right, welcome to Talking Investing. We should be live. I'm Tom. George has not joined me yet. He's... Was that from him? Nope. So I don't know where he is. I've been talking to him all day, but he was at the beach with his family, so he might be late. So for the time being, it's just me. How's everybody doing? Hey, Miguel, Alex, Crypto Golfer, Barry, welcome, welcome. Yeah, Miguel said, Tom, we're back to normal. Red days are back. Well, for the moment. So I don't know if you guys watched my video today or not. I posted a video earlier. I did my daily Bitcoin update early today because obviously last night is when everything happened. So we're in a different spot. However, like my thumbnail says, don't panic. Hey, WLG. Hi, Dan. Hey, Garrett. Hello, series of letters and numbers starting with a P. So I want to go through everything that happened, and obviously we'll talk about stuff, and I'm going to start. Let me get to the 15-minute. Ed, thank you. He said, I did my miners on lucky, better to be lucky. Or I did my miners on Monday, better to be lucky than good. Exactly. Eric says, howdy. Everything goes pear-shape again. Yep. Zero View says, anyone else lost a small fortune? I'm guessing most of you did not get all the way out before any of this happened. And as you guys might know, I don't sell my positions, but I do try and get in and out of options. So I will say I got mostly out. I've been feeling this was coming to an end. I did buy a couple September. I got out of my Augusts. I bought a couple in September, and we'll see. We could be turned around by then. That's a full month from today. So I did not buy anything today. I bought zero. So I feel like today we broke support, and we're going to have a little bit of downward pressure now. So, you know, I'm calling it that the relief rally is over, but I don't think that means that we're headed back into a desperate bear market, in my opinion. I think there's going to be some more pain, but not as bad as other people think. Douglas says, love this opportunity. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Anybody that feels like they missed it, and, you know, they keep giving us opportunity after opportunity, but if you feel like you missed it, you're getting another shot. So I will be dollar cost averaging in, so I already spent the last week and a half getting out of my options, so I feel like that put me neutral, and I've got certain lines drawn where I'll start dollar cost averaging in, because I think we're going to go down. And then if we don't go down as far as I think, then that's all right, because I feel like I already have full positions and everything. There are a couple of things that I do want to get larger positions in, but I did not buy any today because, like I said, I think we broke support last night. And I don't think that that's the day. Now, if you got enough to average in a little bit every single day, I mean, this was a big down day. So I'm not going to argue with somebody that bought into Hut down 13% or Marathon down 15%. But if you think the next $2,000 is going down, then, you know, I know also we don't want to try and time the market. Dan says, didn't take nearly enough profit. It always feels, you can go in a 2-hour cycle from feeling like you're kicking yourself, you didn't buy more, to you wish you got out. I mean, that is, I mean, it's life in the stock market. It's life in the small cap high growth, and it is really life in the Bitcoin miners and really cryptocurrency. So I've been through all those emotions in the last 48 hours. Like, why did I sell out of everything? It's going to run. And then, oh, why didn't I sell out of the rest? Mark says, buy cores. Eric Brown is asking, did George actually buy last stream? And the answer to that is no. So he did not make that purchase. However, he's not here yet, so I'll tell his story about. He caught before the market closed. He went and bought a bunch of Bitfarm, and then he sold right out of it on Monday. So for the most part, he was out of the market for the week. So George is not here yet, so I'm going to speak on his behalf. He wanted to come on. I'm shocked he's not here right now, but I do know he was spending a day with his family at the beach, so he was going to interrupt that and join the broadcast, but he may be otherwise detained. But in his words, he wanted to gloat. He said last week that he thinks things are going to tank, and George thinks it's going to get much, much worse. So I will tell you that I do not think it's going to get much, much worse. I think we're finding a bottom, and a part of that is revisiting some of these lows. But I think we've already hit the low. I'm going to go to the 1 day. So back on June 18th, we hit 17,567. I believe that was it. That was the low. And that's 2 months ago now. So it's been quite some time. And you can see, I mean, I'm just going to do this. I mean, that's a nice relief rally right there. So that's all you can ask for. So I'm very satisfied, and I will say I have tried to say in every video for the last 2 months, I think we're in a relief rally. I don't know how long it's going to go. I've had certain price targets. We just missed. My main price target was this blue line right here, and we got to this purple line right here. So I'm calling it close enough, but what I was really hoping, I'm going to move this down a little, my optimistic target, I was hoping we were going to get up to this. But we ran out of steam, and to be fair, I mean, that's a 43% rally. That's not miscellaneous. That's a strong relief rally. So I feel like we got our money's worth out of it, and we got to do a little bit of resetting. But I do not believe we're going down to new all-time lows. I think this was the low right here. I don't think we're even going to get back to this low. We could. I can't sit here and say we're definitely not going to. It's not going to shock me if we revisit that low or flash below it for minutes, but I believe we're starting the bottoming process, and this was the bottom. The problem is, I mean, you can see on this, if I move this line down, we were hitting higher lows right here and right here and right here. But unfortunately, this candle, this is the daily time frame. Today's candle took all of that out. I mean, we're way, this isn't a candle wick below. This is like, we took everything out. I'll go through it all, but like, to me, I will be stunned if we turn around and bounce back up by Monday. I'll be happy. That's great. Trust me, I'm rooting for it. And I do have one hopium line on here where we could do that, but I give that a small probability of being the case. Hey, Shaman. Hey, Douglas. Douglas is saying we still may get there. Listen, I hope we bounce off of I got a blue line right here where I think there is a couple of points of support where it's possible we could bounce off of this, because some other stuff did happen. We had a big sell-off in the middle of the day, in the middle of the night last night, and, this was one of those times where that caused a cascading amount of longs to get called, so that just starts to spiral on itself. So a part of this, I mean, this day candle looks the same as the 15. I'm going to go from the 1 day to the 15-minute candle. This is the 1 day. This is the 15-minute candle where we went. So this happened all at once. you can see at the bottom of that candle, we were down at 21.4. We're at 21.3 right now. So this took 15 minutes to bottom out. Now, I do think we're going to drift down from here, but there was a lot of liquidations in this period of time. But then the algorithms start to kick in and automatic sells start to occur. So, you know, once this ball gets rolling, I just don't think it turns around on a dime. But if we're lucky, this blue line is my first potential line of support. So I'll repeat what I said in my video. I think it's unlikely that we find support here, but there is potential. I'm going to go back to the 1 day. This, I mean, we twice found support at this point. And so that's my A+ scenario. We bounce off of this, but I'm going to add, let me add the, I got to fix that so you can see it. Okay, so as I'm sure many of you know, I've been obsessing over the 200-week moving average. And that was one of my 3 things. I said I think we need 3 things to happen yesterday to avoid ending this bull relief rally. And one of them was to stay above this 200-week moving average. So you can see last night's candle, if I zoom in on this, yesterday we held the line. So we closed that candle above. So I felt all right about that, but I was long sound asleep by the time this happened. And again, remember, this whole red line, we just went and looked. This was one 15-minute candle. I mean, for the most part. So we took this out. And we are now so far below the 200-week moving average. We're certainly not getting back there by the end of the day today. But if we could bounce off of this line and head back up, I mean, this is rare, uncharted territory. We have not spent this kind of time ever below the 200-week moving average. I know I've said that 100 times on the channel so far, but to me, and it's part of the reason I feel that we've bottomed out. This activity right here was the most bearish, I think, the most bearish activity in the history of Bitcoin. Because remember, we ran up 300%. Not 3,000% or 10,000%. This cycle was small. The run-up seemed like a lot bigger numbers because it was 20,000 to 60,000, but that's only a 3x. We've typically been 15 to 30xing after each halving. So I think that cycle's over. We're in a new world, and we're going to have to start learning new habits. And apparently being underneath the 200-week moving average is one of them. So that line, I was hoping you could see we kind of caught it right here, and it started to maybe be support, but I mean, this is not close. So that's why I think the next leg is down. Everything that I looked at said we're going down, but everything can be wrong, and there's a first time for everything. We just had a lot of first times. This, for instance, my next line of support, this is the 2017 high from the bull rally the last time around. So that was at around 19,800 or 19,900. So just under 20,000. So all this activity right here, this is the first time in the history of Bitcoin we have gone below the previous bull cycle's top. So that's never happened before. So there's a lot of bearish things that happened this time. We stuck in a much smaller range. But to me, I think that's a part of the maturing process. You know, this as Bitcoin matures, it can't 30x every 4 years, or it's going to be worth everything in the world in 25 years. So, you know, at some point it's got to. I still think there's massive growth to the upside. So I am still extremely bullish long term on Bitcoin. I just think the next, whether it's a week or 3 weeks, I think we're going to have a little bit of a pullback. We'll bounce off of one of these lines, hopefully, and then maybe get another rally. WLG is saying, hell, if it can go down that quick, it could bear trap and snap right back. I'm so sick of bears getting rewarded for the negative outlook. And that's true. I mean, exactly. If that went down in one 15-minute candle, and how many times have we seen the old Bart Simpson where, it does, we get this and then bang, we're right back up. So that could happen. I mean, this is one of the most common patterns for Bitcoin. I mean, you'll see one of these every week. So that's definitely not impossible. That would be nice. I guess that's a reverse Bart Simpson. Eric said Cleanspark back under $5. I know. Cleanspark was on a roll. That's one of two that I would like to add to my position on, because it did not get the run up like some of the other ones. So it's still a lot closer to its lows. And I don't know why. I'm not sure why people are sleeping on Cleanspark. So I'm looking to add. I didn't add today. I didn't add to anything today. But if we have a down day like this on Monday, I will add to Cleanspark. So, and there's a bunch that I'm bullish on. That's just the one that has some room left in my position where, my Bitfarms position I've added to so many times that I think I set the world record. Yes, it's an inverted Simpson. Sorry, WLG, that's right. Shaman says, do you own any actual Bitcoin? Oh, sorry, my earpiece just went out. Regrouping. I hold no Bitcoin. I have all of my cryptocurrency exposure is in the Bitcoin miners. And if we get down... If we get to a new low, I will probably just buy a Bitcoin. I just don't think we're going to get back here again. But if we do, then I'm okay with that. But the thing is, I feel so much stronger about the high-quality miners because they are going to, we're suffering it right now because it's a leveraged play. And, this last 8 or 9 months have been brutal because Bitcoin's been down. But I don't want to play Bitcoin for the last 9 months on the leveraged play on the way down and then switch over to buying actual Bitcoin and then just getting one for one and not leveraging back up. So I feel like I kind of I made my choice and I got to stick with it. Douglas is saying the BTC is still correlated with the NASDAQ, which looks very strong today. Was OPEC day causing weakness in stock market? I mean, today was a big options expiration day, so I know I started planning last week to make sure to get rid of all of my options because I don't, obviously I'm not trying to hold them to the last day. So I don't know. You can always wonder. That's enough. So there's a bunch of things like that where, maybe by Monday we'll look back and go, this was just options expiration, or this was just somebody dumping and causing a bunch of longs to get liquidated. So I hope that's all true. But there's so many things that tell me that the next move is down. And again, I'm talking short term. So I know nobody likes to hear the next move is down, but you can see the first thing is just even this is 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 5 downturns in this massive run up. So, and the reverse is going to happen. If we pull back, we'll get some run ups. So I'm going to sell into those for now because I think we are going to hit a lower price point. But, this stuff, get rid of all that. I still think by the end of the year, we're going to be much higher than this. So, it's late August. That doesn't leave a lot of time. So I'm not looking for some long bear market to ensue, in my opinion. Bitfarms was finally, this is from Sour Melon Gaming. Bitfarms was finally doing good. Dang. Guess I'll add more. I know. Bitfarms broke the $1.50 line. It broke the $2 line, and then it held that line. So I'm with you. I thought we were moving up, but it got hit just like the rest of them. I mean, if I go to this one, I mean, here's today. Bitfarms down almost 13, Hut down almost 14, Hive down almost 16, CleanSpark 10, Riot 12, Marathon 15, Core Scientific 14. I mean, you guys can read the rest of the list, but this was not a little down day. This was a very big down day. And I mean, this was a massive, when you have one of these candles, so we made a massive move to the downside, and in addition to that, we crossed a very important line of support. So you're going to get a big sell-off. And I don't know. We'll see. So I'll just tell you. I mean, I'm looking at, so to me, this is my hopium optimism line. So that's at 20,719. So we're only like $500 away from that. So I mean, we could bounce off of that tonight if that's where we're going. I think that's optimistic, so I'm not counting on that. But if by Monday we're hanging around this line, I'll dollar cost average in. I think this line has a better chance of holding. It's at 19,890, and I'm going to call it 20,000 because I think 20,000 is a psychological line. So I think there's a chance we hold 20,000. And then I think the line that has the most chance of holding, in my opinion, where I think we're going, is this green line. And that's at just over 19,000, maybe 19,200. So even that is only... That's a $2,000 pullback. I mean, we just ran up from bottom to top. We just ran from 17.5 to 25. So, you know, that's almost $8,000. So if we got another couple thousand to the downside and that takes another 4 days or another 8 days or whatever it takes, I can live through that. I don't think we're in another 60 or 120 days of downward pressure. I think this was just this thing did its thing and it was overbought and we got to pull back and start over again. But after that, I'm expecting the next relief rally to start. And one of these relief rallies isn't going to be a relief rally. It's going to be the start of the bull run. So it wasn't this one, but maybe it'll be the next one. I'll buy more CleanSpark at $4. That's pretty much, Martin said that. That's pretty much exactly what I was thinking. I'm hoping if we're going to go down, I'd like to buy CleanSpark at $4. And even if it doesn't get to $4, I'm probably buying some Monday if it's down. You know, if it's at $4.25, whatever the case may be, I'll average in a little bit. I'm not going all in, and I buy in small increments and average in over time. So, because you never know, right? So today was down 1,000, and you think that's a great opportunity, but I never do an all in on the same day type of deal because who knows what's coming tomorrow. I think we've probably all learned that lesson the hard way. Let's see. How can we see your options plays? You know, if I would ever start being active on Twitter, I do have a Twitter account that I really don't use, but I keep intending to use it, but I don't. So maybe in Twitter or maybe in the Discord, I can just start letting you guys know, you know, when I'm getting in and out of. And typically, like, you know, all the options I just played were all August 19 options, but I was out of most of them by last Friday, and then a little bit lingered early in this week, and I got out of those, and even that's too long, but it's such a small percentage of my portfolio at that point that, you know, if I get burned, I get burned. But now I do have, I'll tell you, I started a options position in Hut September, the monthlies, not the, I know there's weekly on Hut. So I got some September $3 because I think there's a very good chance we will have done whatever we're going to do and be on the rebound by then. And I did not buy my Bitfarms yet, but I'm going to, if we pull back, I'm going to get Bitfarm $1.50 September. So that's the next thing I'm looking to do. If this lasts, you know, we'll see. That's 4 weeks from now. 4 weeks is a long time, as you guys know. That's why this relief rally was so huge. This was 7 or 8 weeks. That was a massive, massive run up. I mean, most of these, a majority, more than 50% of the publicly traded Bitcoin miners pulled more than a double over those 8 weeks. Some of them pulled a triple. Hey, jury. Welcome. Hey, Allie. Let's see. Edward says, got a bad feeling about crypto between now and the November election. I mean, it's not, this is an off-cycle election. In other words, it's not a presidential. If it was a presidential, I would feel worse. But everybody is pretty hyped up about the elections these days. So I don't know. I feel like Bitcoin's going to do its thing. I think it already started. This was a gigantic signal, in my opinion. I'm going to get rid of this arrow. Or I think I'm going to. Between the fact that we bottomed out, we're 2 months later now, and we've never gotten anywhere near this. We're up and down across this 200-week moving average. And again, this amount of time right here is like 5 times the amount of time Bitcoin has spent in its lifetime underneath the 200-week moving average. So this does not happen. This is an absolute first. And the last time, you can see, in July 25th, so this was even in the middle of our relief rally, we did pull way away from this. And in fact, that is this blue line that I'm talking about. We candlewick down to here, which is why I do think, I don't think this is where we're going, but I got to leave it as a line. There's a chance we could bounce off that line. And you guys know $500 could happen in one 15-minute candle. It happened yesterday. So, and that's why I don't sell my core positions. So I hold my stocks and I mess with options. Sometimes I'll sell the options. More so lately, I've been buying the calls and selling them than vice versa. I think for a long time, for a solid 6 months, just selling calls was, that was gold. But now I'm less confident in the downward pressure. For Wrench, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Please, Mara, go back to $6. So that's the thing that I would say. And I know a lot of people think that I don't like Marathon because I'm a little bit hard on them in some of my videos. But the fact is they're just not operating. But I do go through. If you watch my videos to the end on Marathon, you'll see I talk about the strength of their balance sheet. And I talk about how management has made a lot of good financial decisions. So on that part of the business, I think they operate very well. But from an operational standpoint, anybody who doesn't agree that it's been a nightmare is just lying to themselves. They're at like 2 or 3% of the capacity they said they were going to be at. So they're just, and they could, I've said it in every video, they could have the last laugh. By March of 2023, they could be a $100 stock, and that would not even surprise me. And I hope they do that. But I'm not buying in until I see it, particularly when they had a 250% run up. So the one thing I did not do, I looked at, and I didn't do it. I did look at some Marathon puts. And I held off. So because I ended up I didn't want to make any trades today. So, but I did look at that and it's just because they had such a monstrous run up, even so much more so than all the other ones, that I feel like there's a chance. Alex is saying Riot's becoming interesting at $7. Love your recent Riot. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. That's one I filled out my Riot position, but as it starts going down under $7, I'm definitely gonna, I don't think my cost average, I can't remember, but it's somewhere in that range. So, I'm just about break even there. So if it gets under 7, I think I may be buying in and dollar cost averaging down at that point. Greece seems dead, ? So I don't know that they seem dead. I didn't do a video, but I did really do a deep dive on them this week. I just feel like nobody cares, so I didn't make a video about it. Let me know if anybody cares about greenage. I'll do the video. I already did all the homework, if you will. I don't think they're dead, but they got some liquidity issues. So they're, first of all, anybody who's, and I think all these people are gone, but that was the old support.com merger that was maybe the worst merger in the history of the stock market. And a lot of people lost anywhere from 90 to 99% of their money in 1 week. So, and I will say, I put a video out about 2 weeks before that, it was as clear as day. Well, that's not true. It was unbelievably muddy. I studied that thing for hours and hours and hours to figure out that if you held support stock, you were in deep trouble when that merger happened. And, it was inevitable. And so that's what happened. It was down 90% on the day the merge happened. But I think most people are over that portion of it. And now, GRI has been amping up. I think they did 287 Bitcoin in July. That was their all-time record. They are amping up. They're going to get to, I think 3.7 exahash or something like that. But their problem is their balance sheet is not strong. So I have been very focused on Bitcoin miners whose balance sheets are strong, because you guys know we're sitting here at 21,000 right now. So as we bounce between 18,000 and even 25,000, I am only interested in companies with a strong balance sheet and that have enough liquidity where I know they're going to get where they're going. And so for me, GRI is not one of those companies. Their current ratio, their current assets to current liabilities is not great. They don't have a lot of cash. So they're operationally, they keep gearing up and they're mining more and more Bitcoin. So I like that, but I'm probably going to miss the boat. If everything works out for them and they make a run up, that's one I'm going to miss, because I just can't jump in because of their balance sheet. And there's just too many other companies that are operating, they're executing well, and they have a strong balance sheet. So I'd rather be in those. Eric is saying Marathon has a high short interest. That is very true. It's even high. Riot has a very high short interest, and Marathon's is even higher. Those are the two that have big short interests. Alex is saying Marathon's smoke and mirrors. I mean, if you compare what they said they were going to do to what they've done, then I think that's a completely fair assessment. I keep trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and reserve judgment and wait for it. And again, they can feel free to prove me wrong at any time. But, they were literally, they were way under 1 exahash. They basically shut down the company for the last month and a half. I think they mined 70 Bitcoin last month. So, those are DigiHost type numbers. So yeah, they got a great balance sheet, and they've got some debt that's structured amazingly, but none of that's going to matter if they can't mine any Bitcoin. They've got warehouses full of machines. This everybody was so fixated on getting their hands on machines. If you guys remember, a year and a half ago, all these Bitcoin miners, they were panicking and they were purchase ordering machines like crazy. It was the exahash war. But the truth is, the sticking point right now in the chain of getting these things up and running is the energy. So it's more, the Marathon's not the only one that's having trouble finding places to plug their machines in that are acceptable from a cost standpoint, and taking into consideration that you're not going to see anybody. You're going to see some natural gas, but you're not going to see anybody hooking up to a coal plant at this point. So some of the options are off the table, and that seems to be the biggest bottleneck for sure, is getting the energy for these machines. So unfortunately, Marathon, I don't know what their number is. They could have between 80 and 100,000 machines that they own on the premises, not plugged in. Martin said, I'm out of Marathon at 14, 6 on Mara, and I'll get back in. Yeah, I mean, if Marathon gets down to 6, maybe I'll even buy. And I don't know. I just feel like Marathon and Riot are taking, they've always kind of been brothers or cousins or whatever you want to call it. And right now, I just think that Riot is executing just so much better than Marathon. But that could change. Oh, Eric saying support was brutal. You remember that whole support.com thing? That was a nightmare. I think that was very, very unfair for those shareholders. And then everybody was trying to do a short squeeze on support, not understanding the logistics of the merger that was going to happen. And people got absolutely destroyed. But the stock market's a dangerous place. That's why I started watching you. You warned me and you were right. Oh, RB is saying that's, I think, the support thing. Yeah, I mean, I did a pretty dire video on that one because, and I don't know what made me do that deep of a dive because it was such a popular stock and people were talking about a short squeeze and it was going to go to the moon. So I dug in and right away it was like, wow, there's some missing information here. And by the time I got to the bottom of it, it was like, you got to steer clear of this one. So I'm glad that a couple of people watched that and it helped them avoid a disaster. So if that worked out for you, RB, I'm very glad. Alex said, your HUT video helped understand their $200 million stock offering. Those are always, that is the most contentious, well, that is tied for between officer compensation and at the market offerings. I know that retail investors go crazy over that, and it really drives a lot of people crazy, and a lot of people will sell for that reason. And sometimes that's good, but sometimes, for me in this instance, if I was management, I would have done exactly what they did. Now, by the same token, I would not be doing any new shares in this $2 range. I think they'll be back up to $4 or $5, and given the fact that they were under $1.50 a month ago, if they could do some dilution at $5, I think, that's like hedging your bets. I think that's prudent. Yeah, because they're going to need the money. All these are small cap, high growth companies. So, there's none of these companies that are done issuing shares. The question is, do you trust management to responsibly issue those shares? And if they, giving them the flexibility of an at-the-market offering, then, it's up to them. They can do it whenever they want. So that makes a lot of people nervous, and they don't want any part of it. But I feel like they're so stingy at HUT. They're not going to make a deal unless it's they win in every which way. That's what they've done so far, in my opinion. So hopefully they keep up that track record. Sour Great Mountain says, Bitfarm mines more Bitcoin in a week than Marathon does in a month, yet Bitfarms is under $2. I know. Bitfarms, to me, that's why that's my heaviest position. I think Bitfarms is wild. They made a big financial mistake, and it cost them some money, but that is a very short-term situation, and it did not cost them their liquidity. Where that could have hurt them is if it cost them the liquidity and they didn't make it and they went out of business. But that didn't happen. They had to do a lot of restructuring. They had to sell a lot of Bitcoin that they saved that I can guarantee you they had no intention of selling at $20,000, but they had to do it. So they took the steps necessary, and as a result, they're back on track. So yeah, I mean, they mined 500 Bitcoin in July. They were the second biggest from an operational standpoint. That was the second most out of all Bitcoin mining companies, second only to Coors. So I love their operations, and I think every single month they have steady growth. They're going to get to 6 exahash instead of 8 exahash. But I am going to do a video on that, comparing everybody's plan back in December and January of 2021, what they said they were going to do in 22 to what they are now doing or saying they're going to do in 2022, and it's pretty staggering. Dropping from 8 exahash to 6 exahash, that puts Bitfarms very near first place as far as sticking to their plan. There are a couple that did even better than that, but that was about as close as it got. I hope you break even soon with Bitfarms, Tom. Thank you, Martin. Yeah, I mean, I'll wait for it. I'll wait. I have a high level of confidence in that, so I feel great about my Bitfarms position. In fact, you know, if they go down, they got down to $1.04 at one point, I think. If they get back down to $1, I will oversize my position again. So Hut balance sheet there, Hodel and Jamie are all positive for their growth. That was Alex. Yeah, I mean, they have not had to sell a Bitcoin. They still have a lot of cash left, so they don't intend to sell any of their Bitcoin. They're not going to sell Bitcoin at $20,000. They're not going to sell it at $25,000. They've been serious about that. They've changed all of their other plans dramatically to make sure that doesn't happen. So I feel like Jamie was ahead on all of this. She's the one who turned out, you know, and maybe it was luck or whatever you want to say, but she turned out to be right. So I like what they're doing over there. And, you know, they lowered from 6 exahash. They were going to be at 6 exahash at the year end, and they just now said 3.35 exahash, I believe they switched to. So that's a lot less, but again, they didn't get rid of a single Bitcoin. So think about it. You know, they're going to have 8,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. When they do their next update at the end of August, it will be over 8,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And, you know, if they can hold those to 50,000 or 100,000 or 200,000, I mean, they're only a $500 million market cap company right now. So, you know, they could have more Bitcoin than that for all I know. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Let's see. Samuel says, I think Ben Gagnon, and I pronounce his last name wrong, so I apologize to him and everybody else who pronounces it correctly. He said, is carrying the company. I mean, Ben's a serious dude. You guys probably know I got a chance to talk to him on the channel, and I thought he was very candid. That was an excellent interview, and there's no doubt he is all business, and I think he's operations, and operationally they are just killing it. So I agree. Ben's top stuff. Thomas is asking me, you are not in Riot? No, I am in Riot. I am in Riot. Riot is one of my high conviction positions. Samuel, me too, Tom. Hut is planning something, I believe. Let's see what they have in store. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they can't say it obviously until they do it, and they may not know which thing it is yet, but I think they're looking at several things. I think a lot of opportunities. There's several Bitcoin miners that were going to go public that didn't go public, and there's a bunch of these miners that are having liquidity problems. So, you know, it seems like everything got better and those worries were over, but there's still more than a handful of these companies that. Now, I will tell you, in my opinion, Stronghold, I actually bought Stronghold for the first time ever this week, and everybody's probably think I'm crazy. So I bought a small position, and I plan on dollar cost averaging in because I think they're going to keep going down for a while. However, they pulled a rabbit out of a hat. They refinanced every single piece of debt that they had with everyone in a way where they went from illiquid. I mean, the last video I did on them, they're out of money. They either got to sell themselves or go out of business or whatever the case may be. But they managed to cut their debt in half. Now, it was at a big cost. They actually gave back 26,000 of their Bitcoin miners. And obviously, you know, if you want them as a Bitcoin company, you don't love that. But I like it better than them going out of business. So that still leaves them. They're still going to be at 1.4 exahash. they were at a 1-to-3 ratio current assets to current liabilities. So for those of you who don't care about accounting, that basically means they were done. They did not have enough money to pay the bills, you know, and we just don't know which month it was that you're going to close the doors at that point. And they totally flipped that around. So, but they're a potential buyout because they've got I just did a video on them if you want to check it out. They got a super cool business, and you know, I'm hoping they succeed over time. Obviously, they just had to take 10 steps back, but 11 steps was going to be off of a cliff, so they avoided that. So I feel good about what they did. But there are a few others. I mean, I'll just tell you, and I got to always say this is not financial advice. I'm just telling you guys what I'm looking at. I went through TeraWulf's. They put out their quarterly report. I don't know what their business model is. I don't know what they're doing. But it certainly is not Bitcoin mining, in my opinion. So, and they're another one. Their liquidity is at virtually zero. So I don't know how they move forward from here. Now, maybe they've got a plan. They got a $50 million line of credit, I think they can hit, but their cash on their quarterly statement, their cash was under $1 million. I mean, that's basically being illiquid. And by the way, they don't have any. It's not like they have any crypto assets. Their current assets were like next to zero. So there's a lot of companies that are starting to look more like that. So I don't know. I'm not investing in them. Maybe they have some other grand plan. Look what Stronghold just did. They turned their situation around in what I think was amazing. So I give them a lot of credit for they had to, and they waited to announce, and you could see they were negotiating pieces of their debt all the way up, I would say, to within 3 hours of when they released their financial statements. It all happened on the 16th, and they managed to do it all, and it did come at some cost, but like I said, I mean, it's better than being out of business. Thomas is saying, I've been since the top in Riot, always buying before the drop, so horrible. Well, I know which top, the top back in February 2021, because Riot was the first one to take off, and so their February of 21 highs were even much higher than their November of 2021 highs. Marathon was the opposite. Marathon got into the 80s in November. So I don't know. That was baffling to me as well, but it was all about good press releases back then. Everybody, oh, I got this 20 exahash, that 30 exahash. You guys remember any? Right? They were going to be the biggest mine. They were going to be bigger than all these miners. I just went through their financial statements. That is not how that's playing out at all. So they're trying. They got a new CEO, and they're trying to do what they can, but they are left in a desperate situation. They got involved in that new miner stuff. If you remember that Gatorade machine that turned out to not be real, effectively, which was fairly obvious to everybody, so I'm not exactly sure why it wasn't obvious to them. So they lost $10 million on that. It's not the end of the world. That's a small deposit. It's a lot of money, obviously, but it's a small deposit, but it leaves them in a bad spot. Samuel says, you're planning to do a video on Wolf. Want to know what you found. If people are interested in a video on Wolf, I'll do it. I'm always hesitant. I don't want to do some of these alternate people that haven't even really started mining. I'm not sure anybody even cares about. So I keep up on the whole entire space, but I just feel like there's a bunch of them that nobody cares about. So, I mean, if people want a Wolf video, I'll do it. I did my due diligence on them. Samuel saying, am I recalling correctly, did Estig lose deposits on Minerva? And yes, that's exactly right. That was $64 million. So that was a tough situation for them. And they are recovering a little bit of that. I mean, at this point, it is what it is. That was a disaster that's what started the disaster rolling for them. But like I said, I think they've turned things around. Are they going to hit a home run this year? No. But they're going to make it, in my opinion. Edward's saying these miners are risky. Stick with HUT and CleanSpark. I mean, HUT and CleanSpark are definitely two of my high conviction plays. Bitfarms and Riot are, if I were to do my top four, those are probably my top four at the moment. So Samuel's laughing at any saga is funny. I mean, that was, I don't know if you guys remember, they put out they were going to be at 46 exahash. They had a super machine that was 3 times better than the best machine ever made and 3 times as energy efficient. And I mean, it was, oh, by the way, the company selling them was going to lend them the $1 billion to take it, as long as they gave a $10 million deposit up front. So I got that letter in the mail too. I threw it out. Sold more Riot puts today. Love these pullbacks. I will tell you, I did nothing today. And I know this was a big, everything moved a lot today. I just felt like, I'm going to go to the 15-minute and see if anything's happening here at all. We're very sideways. So, I mean, we made this giant move to the downside, but you can see that was a massive, these are 15-minute candles, but that was a lot. Let me go to the 4 hour. Look at these red. Let me get rid of this thing. What am I doing? Trying to get that out of the way. All right, so look at, I mean, these are all 4 hour candles. This volume was, this pullback had big volume. So that's why I feel like, you know, we're not done. That's another confirmation that we've changed directions. And we're, you know, we've done nothing here. We're at 21,260. That's within a few hundred, that's within $100 of where we were when we started on the stream. So no action. I mean, everything fell apart. This is the 4 hour RSI. I mean, that's down to 16. So that is ultra oversold. So there's no guarantee, but this tends to get down to around 12. So it could go a little bit further, and then sometime at the beginning of this weekend, I do think we could see a little relief because we're so unbelievably oversold on the 4 hour. But if we do, I think that will be very short-lived, because really I'm looking at, this is the 1 day. I mean, this was that rally. I mean, we had a line of support here. We held that line. We broke through it. I still held out hope as long as we were over 50 on the daily RSI. That, you know, yesterday we were over the 200-week moving average. We were over 50 on the daily RSI. And I said, you know what? We still got one more day before I can call this thing. But you can see what happened on that day. Boom. Massive red candle. Now, we're not only under 50, we're under 35 on the daily RSI. So to me, and again, you'll see this got down to 19.8. So it's not uncommon to get down to 20 or 25 on the daily RSI is about as oversold as they usually get. So that's a long way down from here. So that's why I'm thinking the next move is down to one of these lines, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, hopefully we don't pick up momentum in the wrong direction. We've had a lot of nice weeks in a row. Sandwich said, ouch, 64 million is a horrible loss. Do you know if companies can protect themselves from losing deposits like that? I mean, this is there's no insurance company that's going to give insurance on a deposit for a Bitcoin mining machine. There's not even hardly a bank that'll lend money on it. And that's the real thing that shocked me with Stronghold, and this is how they got out of their trouble. The bank accepted those machines. It was 26,000 machines. The bank accepted those in exchange for wiping out $67 million of debt. So most banks would not do that. Most banks are not interested in having 26,000 Bitcoin mining machines. But I guess they must have felt that that was their best option at this point. So that's what allowed them to get to where they are. Now, obviously, they're down the machines, but they're still over an exahash. And, you know, they get a chance to regroup. Bitcoin's still very low. They got a good business model. They get tax credits. They do something ultra green. I mean, very tangible. So if you check out what they do, they get credits from the state, from the government, and subsidies. And in addition to that, they create energy and they mine Bitcoin. So, I mean, there's a lot of business there. They found themselves in a bad... That $64 million put them behind the 8 ball. Sourmelon Gaming saying, every week I tell myself I'm done buying more shares in miners, but at these valuations, I can't turn down free money. I mean, that's why you're right. It's like, oh, my position is full. And then, you know, it's like I said, if Bitfarms get back down to $1, I don't care how many shares I have. I'm buying some more if it gets back to $1. I'm buying some more CleanSpark if it gets back to $4 because my CleanSpark position is smaller than my Bitfarms position. So there's more room to fill that one out. But yeah, I mean, these are irrationally low prices already, in my opinion. And they could definitely get lower because we're not anywhere near... You know, we got down to 17.5, so we're not anywhere near that. So everything could still pull back. Thomas is saying Riot and Mara are my favorites, but I'm just being wrecked. Well, it depends when you got in and when you got out. They're definitely, we've all been, every one of these, just so you guys know, every single one of the 20 that I follow, from their high in 2021 to their low in 2022, every single Bitcoin mining company was down at least 90%. So, you know, if you feel like, man, why did I pick the loser? The reason is they all lost, all of them. So you're not alone, and it wasn't necessarily a bad pick. This is what happened to the sector. This got taken out like almost nothing I've ever seen. But, you know, the last 6 to 8 weeks, if you were in Marathon, no, you didn't get back to 80, but there was a 250% move to the upside. So if you dollar cost averaged in and you took some profits, you're a little better off than you were before. Obviously still a long way to go, but we're still very much near. Like I said, I feel like we're forming a bottom. We're bouncing off the bottom. We're forming a bottom. So that's why I called this a relief rally. And I'm not even saying, I think the bear market's over. I think we're now in the middle forming a bottom. And the next thing that's going to happen, in my opinion, and that could be 3 months from now, 5 months from now, I think that I believe we're going to move back into a bull market. But that doesn't mean we won't have another relief rally in the middle. We just had a 2-month relief rally. And I could see that happening again. In fact, I feel like that's going to happen again. So, you know, I don't have any inside information on that, but I feel like that's where this is headed. This was a really nice run up. It got overbought. I mean, you can only expect so much. It was a 43% move to the upside. We can't complain about that. And from the Bitcoin miner standpoint, almost all of them were up between 100 and 250%. So, you know, if we get one more of those. Getting a question, do miners dump Bitcoin a lot? So, you know, I always hear a lot of talk about, I hope the miners aren't dumping their Bitcoin. Now, a lot of the miners have started selling their Bitcoin. There are a couple of miners that sold a reasonably significant amount, but honestly, even Core Scientific, which sold about 10,000 Bitcoin over the course of 2 or 3 months, that does not affect the supply and demand of Bitcoin. So I don't think, and that's always been my problem with the whole Plan B. I won't even get into that, but the supply of Bitcoin is not affected by these miners hodling or liquidating. It's just not enough. There's wallets that have multiples more than all of these Bitcoin miners put together. So, but yes, they are starting to sell some, and there's a lot of them that are now, I think probably from now on, going to pay for operations out of the Bitcoin that they mine and then maybe save the rest. That seems to be what people are leaning towards. So Wim is saying, Tom, can you tell about having Bitcoin in 2024? What will happen with the price of Bitcoin and CleanSpark stock price, for example? I mean, typically in the past, the halvings have always been the monstrous event. So that's what we keep pointing to. Obviously, that's going to have a big impact on the miners because it has more of an impact on the miners than it has on Bitcoin. But as a function of that, in the past, every single time, it has caused a massive run-up in Bitcoin. So I don't see any reason why that won't happen again. But I do think it's going to be more like this time, where it's a 2x or a 3x or a 4x. I think the days of Bitcoin 20xing, you know, in a 6-month bull run are over. It's too much money now to do that at these prices. But could it get up to 200,000? That's what I have in mind. I think that's a very realistic, 3-year goal. And I know there's a lot of people that have bigger numbers than that. And it doesn't have to get to that. If Bitcoin gets to 50,000, sometime before the halving, and if it gets over 100,000 after the halving, all of these companies will continue a nice growth trajectory, in my opinion. And the worldwide hash rate is nowhere near what anybody thought it was going to be. So they've had almost a year of reprieve, basically, on the difficulty level going up. In fact, it was going down for a couple of months. It just adjusted. This last adjustment was less than 1%. So, and that's as a function, and that trend will continue because we already have heard from most of the Bitcoin miners they're not going to install the rest of the machines that they said they were going to install in 2022. So maybe there'll be a big pickup in 2023, but then next thing you know, you'll have the halving. So that's why I'm optimistic. And that doesn't even, there's so much still almost all of the money in the market hasn't even started moving into Bitcoin. We're just starting to get adoption as far as I'm concerned. So I think there's a long way to go. This is very early stages still. Yeah, we didn't catch Bitcoin at $10, but I think this is still very, very early. And maybe some of you did catch Bitcoin at $10, or maybe you bought a pizza with it. I know there's a lot of people with those stories too, and George is still mad at me. He wanted to mine Bitcoin before I ever even knew what it was. So I think it was maybe 2011, 2012, something. It was not the first year it came out, but it was only 2 or 3 years old. It was only at a couple of dollars. Let's put it this way. It was enough that at home I did the energy calculation of how much it was going to hit my energy bill, and I was like, it's not worth it. We're going to spend more money paying the electric bill than we're going to get in Bitcoin. Of course, I did not know that it was going to run up to $60,000 at that time, so I missed on that one. Alex says, Tom, my gratitude to you. Perhaps others will join me in saying that your analysis helps and perhaps leads in our own diligence in the Bitcoin and miner space. I don't have the time to get that involved. Thank you, Alex. I'm glad to do it. I know, and I'm fortunate. I enjoy doing this, and so this is what I spend all my time doing. So I'm glad I get a chance to share it with everybody. And I think our little Bitcoin community is growing here. So we passed 10,000 subscribers, and other than today where people got a little unwieldy in the Discord, we got a bunch of people over there. So, which reminds me, feel free to join the Discord. Sometimes on days where people lose a lot of money, they get angry, like today. So today was not the most productive conversation, but there are other days where we have awesome conversations in the Discord. So I know a bunch of you guys are in there, so you know what I'm talking about. And if you have not, please do me a favor and like this. I am only now just starting to learn how much hitting the like button affects the algorithm in YouTube. I did a test this week, and I said, let's try and get 300 likes. And, we usually get 150 or whatever. And so I appreciate it. Everybody jumped in and hit the like button. And every single video I've done then has gotten more views. And so it had an immediate impact. So I appreciate when you guys leave a message. That helps me. So, When you guys hit the like button, it helps me. And it helps all of us because, you know, like Alex is saying, I'm trying to do. I can't do your due diligence, but I can dig in and give you as much information as I can share in, you know, a 10 or 15-minute video and give everybody a head start. So, you know, at least it may decide, you know, well, here's the 3 I want to look at. Versus having to go through, I mean, there's 20 publicly traded companies now that are mining or intend to mine Bitcoin. Dan saying, yeah, I agree with Alex. Would be interesting to see your process. I'm just nonstop, and it has mostly to do with, I'm mostly reading 10Ks, 10Qs, and hitting every news release. You really, it's hard. What Alex said is true. You can't, unless you're doing this, you can't do that for 20 companies. It's too much work. So I'm fortunate. That's what I'm doing. So, and I dig deep. I mean, my background's in accounting, so I dig deep into the quarterlies that they submit to the SEC. I think probably much deeper than a lot of people. And still thinking about buying. Thanks for joining us, Anne. She's an honorary special guest. Malik said, good afternoon, Tom. Good afternoon, Malik. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Let's see. Thomas said, not angry, just super sad and disappointed, and it doesn't look like it will get better. So I mean, I agree. I'm calling the end of the relief rally. But, I mean, if you look at the lines on the chart that should be on the screen right now, like, these lines are not a disaster. This blue line, the pink line, and the green line, I think we're going to land on one of those three. I think it's probably the green line. But even that, I mean, that could happen within days or a week. So, you know what? If we have a week of a pullback, we just had a week. If we put another week in a row, that's a couple of weeks. And for the many, many that have been leaving comments kicking themselves that they didn't get in, this is your chance. Everything's pulling back. Almost everything was down more than 10% today. So, you know, if that happens 2 or 3 more times and you're able to buy Bitfarms at $1.10 and Cleanspark at $3.80 and Riot for $5, you know, I know there's a lot of people, they don't need me to tell them, they're waiting to do that. So they might get their chance. Dan said, thanks, Tom. Colton said, if George doesn't get here, I will storm the Capitol. I know, George ghosted us. So he missed his opportunity. And so we're going to have to give him the business next week. Poe Brain says, Tom, thanks for covering the Bitcoin miners. You're welcome. That is definitely... I look at a lot of other stocks, but obviously you guys can see most of my videos now are about the Bitcoin miners, and that's what I focus in. But I got a bunch of other small cap, high growth stuff, and it's all getting treated just like these miners are. I mean, it's all been ugly for 8 or 9 months, other than this very nice relief rally that we just had. So... Thomas said, yeah, the lines, but it will go straight through them. Well, it might. I mean, that happens. I can't tell you where this is going to land. Yep, it could go through all these lines. That has happened to me before. So, I mean, we got a red line down here at 17,500. That would be revisiting a 2-year low on Bitcoin. To me, I really, really think the lows are in. But I don't know what world event is around the corner or whatever the case may be. So I don't know. None of us know over the next 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months. For me, most of this, and again, I play my options on a short-term basis, but I have not sold any of my stock. I just officially declared the relief rally over. I did not sell any of my stock because these are all long-term positions for me. I think they're going to be so many multiples higher than that, in my opinion, that these days are frustrating, but this is a part of the deal. Especially, there's not there's not that many places where you can get 5Xs and 10Xs and 20Xs. And these happen. I mean, Marathon just 3X'd in a month and a half. So it's not like it's not like a pipe dream. It happens all the time. In fact, you know, Marathon over 100X'd in a 1 year period in 2021. So, and that was in 1 year. I don't think that's coming again, but I do think good things are coming. So yeah, we might break all these lines, and I don't know where the bottom is, but Thomas said, thanks for your video on Riot. Really appreciate it. You're welcome. My pleasure. Colton, are stocks just astrology for men? I don't know. Maybe. It can definitely be an obsession. Vincent is asking, if Bitcoin moves to 200K, what would the miners be priced at? You know, so before or after the halving. But, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If Bitcoin were to move to 200K, that's a 10x for Bitcoin. So you're going to get a lot more than that out of the miners. These are a leveraged play. So, you know, I'm not expecting Bitcoin to race straight to 200,000, but I do think that's a 3-year price target that's very realistic. And, you know, if that, yeah, Thomas is saying 5x, 10x, 20x. So that's already, we've already seen it play out. So I'm comfortable. And, you know, you can see most of these companies are still trading for less than book value. If, you know, the few companies that did manage to hold on to their Bitcoin, and I know everybody has a very conflicted opinion on whether or not they like that or they don't like that, but, you know, companies like Hut 8 and Marathon that have 8,000 or 10,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, you know, when Bitcoin's worth $200,000 and they've got 20,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, yeah, they're going to have to 20x just to be worth their Bitcoin, never mind whatever their company's worth. So that's what I see in the long term. So that's why I'm doing this for the long term. And yes, I definitely do try and, you know, we went through a long period of losses. So you try to mitigate those losses through options plays. But if you don't do that, that's fine too. Don't feel like you have to do that because most people probably don't have time for that. So it's a buy and hold, set it and forget it. Malik said, I jumped in with 25K on Bitfarms at $1.96. Now it's $1.50. Impatient. I mean, yes, and that's the dollar cost average argument. But, you know, take solace in the fact that, in my opinion, $1.96 is going to be a great cost basis, in my opinion, for Bitfarms over the course of the coming years. $1.50 is even better. You're right. And if it gets back to $1, that's even better still. But what's done is done. I totally caught up on the chat. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. All right. Well, I think we've been going for a while here. So does anybody else have any questions, or you guys ready to hit it for the weekend? Hopefully you guys do not go into this weekend on a down note or a sour note or depressed. This was 8 great weeks in a row. We're having a pullback. I don't think it's going to be a gigantic pullback. That's just my opinion. So I wouldn't get too down about it. I'm looking at it as a buying opportunity. You know, we'll see. We may know a lot more even by Monday. So we'll see. Hut 8. Why do some stocks say Class A and Class B? That has to do with voting. So, I mean, I don't, you know, most of us are not holding a position enough to be an influencer at the annual votes. I got a request for Palantir, for Beam. So, Beam, BEEM. You guys know I follow that one closely. So, I can do another Beam. I'm following these stocks. It was starting to be where my non-Bitcoin mining videos nobody cared about and nobody watched. So, you know, if nobody cares about them, I don't want to do them. Are you going on a holiday? Asks Wim. I don't know when I'm going on a holiday. And if I go on a holiday, I will still I mean, we live in a world where my phone can do everything I need to trade. Now, as far as making my daily videos, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to have some kind of setup on the road. Which miners are you looking to buy specifically in the downturn? And Wim is asking me to ask about Palantir and Beam. So I've got opposite opinions. Palantir I'm a little bit afraid of right now. Beam, that's a high conviction play for me, and that has not changed. I think they've only had good news since I bought them. I'm still upside down on Beam, even after having averaged in. But I'm still buying. So I like, you guys got to do your own research, but I like Beam. Their solution is unique to themselves. They have a product that no one else has. I think it's a product that has a massive use case, and I don't see, and it's I don't know why they haven't done it, but they're messing around with all these short squeezes. You could send Beam to 1,000. There's no other stock in the stock market that's set up for a short squeeze like Beam is. Now, I don't own it for that position. I own it because I think it can get to 50 or 100 on its own without a short squeeze. But there's always that part of it. So, and the miners I'm looking to keep average into, and this doesn't mean they're my number one plays. Some of this just has to do with I haven't filled out my position as much. I'd like to get some more Cleanspark if the opportunity presents itself. So if we get the pullback I think we're going to get, then the first thing I'll buy is some more Cleanspark. But I will tell you, with Bitfarms and HUT and Riot, if they take big hits, I'll probably keep averaging into them. Stronghold I started averaging into. My Stronghold position will never be anything like the size of my other positions. But I would like to create a nice small position in Stronghold because I love what they're doing, and I think they just turned a big corner. So those are my highest conviction. I think one day I will kick myself that I didn't back up the truck on Core Scientific, but that is not one of the ones I'm invested in right now. So I just got to feel good about my high conviction plays. WLG said, thanks for everything. You're welcome. My pleasure. Any thoughts on Wolf? I talked a little bit about Wolf. I don't know what they're doing. I read their quarterly report, and, they're a company that doesn't have any cryptocurrency on their balance sheet. They don't have any cash on their balance sheet. They have not reported, although they put out a press release 4 or 5 months ago that they started mining Bitcoin. Their revenue for the quarter was $1 million, which means as a company, lifetime to date, they've mined something like 50 or 60 Bitcoin altogether. So they're really not doing anything yet. And to be fair, they did say most of their shipments were going to come in the second half of the year. But to me, I don't see anything happening there. And I think they started their whole plan in a world where Bitcoin miners were on fire and liquidity was everywhere and there was money to be found. And now we're in the absolute opposite environment. So I think they're going to have to find a way to navigate through and probably not do all that they expected to do. So I'm staying away from Wolf. Until any company that's not putting out a monthly operational update, I'm not buying. There's 13 or 14 or 15 that are putting out monthly updates and that are meaningful, and that level of transparency, you can't replace that. So I don't need to take a long shot. I guess Stronghold's my long shot. They will probably not be putting out monthly reports based on the fact that they've scaled back so much, but I feel good about them. Eric says, thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Alex, Dan, Martin, Jury. Have a nice weekend. Cryptozer, hey man, just found your channel and watched your Bitfarms. Do you still consider them one of the best miners? Yes, I do. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you found it. Welcome to the live chat. You just caught us before we're wrapping up. But yes, that is one of my high conviction plays. So not financial advice, but that's one of my biggest positions. So operationally, I think they're hitting a grand slam home run. If you watch my videos, you'll see they did make one financial mistake. I feel like they've done what they had to do to correct that. You know, was not ideal, but it's behind them, in my opinion. So I like that company a lot. JD said, thanks for your hard work, Tom. Much appreciated. You are welcome. And thank you guys all. Again, really, it seems silly, but just even hitting, if you watch my videos and you hit the like button, it's helping out the channel a lot. So I appreciate it. Every time you leave a comment, I appreciate it. Also, I try to respond to most comments. So, you know, I get a lot of good commentary. Vincent saying, could overexposure to Canada be an issue? I am in HUT and I want to open a position in Bitfarms, but if Canada regulates miners negatively, then I'd be screwed. I know, and I talked to, I don't know how to answer that. I have a lot of Canadian Bitcoin miners. Their regulations have not been that bad on the mining side of things. I do think, you know, I talked to Sue about this in one of our interviews, and she feels like they have a good relationship with the government, and they'll probably emulate whatever the U.S. does or something along those lines. So I don't know. I can't dismiss that. You can't say it's not a risk. And two of my high conviction plays are Canadian Bitcoin miners, but I'm sticking with them. Shaman saying, would you consider buying MicroStrategy stock? So I'm not going to buy MicroStrategy stock, but I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's a modestly leveraged play on Bitcoin. So it is better than buying Bitcoin straight up. They have a modest amount of leverage. I think the good Bitcoin miners are a more leveraged play. So in other words, remember, when MicroStrategy continues to build Bitcoin, they've got to buy it at the retail value. The miners get to mine it at their cost of energy, which is significantly less. So that makes them a more leveraged play. Obviously, MicroStrategy has a lot more Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin doubles or triples, they'll have big upside. But I think the miners should outperform. But all those, to me, I mean, I'm a Bitcoin bull. So in my mind, those are all decent plays. Gordon saying, I wouldn't feel bad about Core's $1.5 billion in liabilities is too high unless Bitcoin takes off. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm not in Core's. Their debt is not quite like Marathon's debt. They've got a lot of debt, and it's not structured as well. It's not disaster, but that's tough. That's an awful lot of debt. Fat Albert, appreciate you keeping the faith. This was a tough week. Thank you, Fat Albert. Welcome to the stream. Bitfarms has good relations with municipalities. Usually Canada follows U.S. regulations anyway, says Samuel. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm counting on. And I guess, you know, if things change on the ground, then I'll have to make decisions on that. But I'm not, you know, who knows with regulations. The same thing could be said about the U.S. If we come out with some crazy regulations, then, you know, maybe our miners are going to have a problem. But I think at the end of the day, all these people are going to be reasonable on the miners. I think the things that are going to get much more heavily regulated are the stable coins are in for some big regulations, in my opinion. The exchanges are in for some very big regulations, and potentially some of the small altcoins. But I think that Bitcoin and the Bitcoin mining universe, I don't think that's where the big exposure is on regulations, in my opinion. I think there will be modest, reasonable regulations. Maybe I'm an optimist. Vincent said, might just go into CleanSpark as a sort of a hedge against minor regulations. I mean, I'm a big CleanSpark person. I'm looking to, if they pull back next week, I'll be buying more, so. Gordon said, great videos on HUT, Bitfarms, and Riot. These are the core miners, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, those are 3 of my 4 high conviction plays. And I have some other miners that I do feel good about. I just, when Bitcoin started to tank like it did, I narrowed my field and just tried to pick the best of the best. But I have a bunch of other miners I do feel good about. I just still at Bitcoin 21,000, I'm not ready to diversify. I think I'm down to 4 or 5 miners. 5 miners. Colton said, do I like Norm MacDonald? I don't know where that question comes from, but yeah, I think Norm's pretty funny. I mean, I remember Norm from Saturday Night Live, so I don't know how old you guys are. I'm dating myself. Scott said, when you talk to Sue of Hut as her directly, how much they have at the market? Oh, I think you're saying ask her. Yeah, I mean, they've got their they just did their $200 million at the market. So I definitely want to do another round of interviews. It's been a little while, so I already reached out to Sue, and she's great. She's always very willing to come on and chat. So probably sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'll talk to Sue. And we can definitely talk about the at the market. Douglas said, thanks for your great research. The weekend begins. Agreed. Thank you, Douglas. So with that, I will tell everybody, have a great weekend, please. Yes, we're moving a little bit in the wrong direction, but go do your weekend and enjoy. And I'll put some videos out over the weekend if anything meaningful happens, and I'll definitely be back up and running on Monday, and we'll go from there. So everybody enjoy your weekend. I want to thank everybody again for joining the live stream and for watching the videos, liking the videos, subscribing to the channel. Much, much appreciated. So have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining me.